Daniel Dubois' career looked in disarray after that brutal KO loss to Oleksandr Usyk. But what if I told you there are two fights right now that could completely save Dubois' career and put him back on the map? Let's break it down. But before we do that, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, then don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave your comments in the section below. Daniel Dubois and Frank Warren have recently announced that Dubois will be returning very soon to the ring. And so the first fight that I believe will put Daniel Dubois back on the map is the rematch against Anthony Joshua. Look, I was wrong in the first fight. My prediction was totally wrong. I predicted that Anthony Joshua was going to knock Daniel Dubois out, and I was very wrong. Daniel Dubois proved to be victorious on the night. It just looked like Daniel Dubois was the much more assured fighter. During the ring walk, Anthony Joshua just looked like a deer in headlights. He looked like he didn't know where he was. He looked like he didn't want to be there. Daniel Dubois was very confident, was very assured. His ring walk was incredible. It was electrifying. And he got in the ring and did the business. Anthony Joshua, as many have said, and I've said it on many occasions, is just a shadow of himself. And you could see in the ring, he made some of the worst mistakes that any fighter would ever make in the ring. Going back in straight line with his chin up in the air, Daniel Dubois saw that opening and he took it. And that was the beginning of the end in that fight. Dubois then went on to really dominate that fight, really punish Anthony Joshua for 5 rounds and ultimately knock Joshua out cold. And the world was amazed. I was amazed. A lot of people that I spoke to was amazed that Daniel Dubois was able to do that to Anthony Joshua. So I think that Daniel Dubois believes that he can do the same. So why not take the Anthony Joshua rematch? He's beaten him once, and I think he feels like he can beat him again. I mean, Joshua is there for the taking. It is very clear. And Daniel Dubois, I think would feel that he has what it takes to beat Anthony Joshua again. Joshua is a big name. Joshua, I think, has the second best resume after Oleksandr Usyk in the heavyweight division right now. So it will be a fantastic win. Once again, if Daniel Dubois takes that fight and is able to do it emphatically as he did in the first fight, it will be a great win on his CV. But also, it's a big name and one that people will respect as Daniel Dubois gets the win in the rematch. Look, it is a great fight. I'd love to see it. I think Anthony Joshua would also fancy his chances against Daniel Dubois because he has seen the mistakes that he made in the first fight. Also, he has seen Daniel Dubois' weaknesses in his mental state and the way he goes about fighting, and the fact that Daniel Dubois' defense is very lacking and there's a lot of holes in Daniel Dubois' defense. So I think Anthony Joshua would also feel confident that he could right his wrongs in the first fight and really put Daniel Dubois under pressure to the point where he believes that he will be able to break Daniel Dubois' will and get him out of there, because Joshua has the power. He's got the skill, certainly, to be able to knock any fighter out in the ring, and I think he'll be confident that he'll be able to do that. But for Daniel Dubois, this will be a great win for him. This will be a win that would help him build his confidence again. I mean, from losing to Oleksandr Usyk and then winning against Anthony Joshua again, that would be a really good win. It will be a big fight in the UK. I think it's a fight that will sell the O2 Arena, but I think it's a fight that I can see selling the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium if they sell it properly. If Frank Warren and Matchroom come together and they sell that fight really well in the UK, I think it can do big numbers. It can bring a lot of people into the stadium. It's going to be a big fight, and I think if Dubois wins that fight, he gets back to the top table. He gets back into contention for, some world titles or even big fights leading to world titles, because that is Daniel Dubois' goal, to become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. So the Anthony Joshua fight is a fight that if he takes and win, will do wonders for his career and the next step going forward. The second fight that I think will put Daniel Dubois on the map is the Joe Joyce rematch. Look, if there's any fight that Dubois should be yearning to take, if there is any fight at all that Daniel Dubois should be excited to take, is that Joe Joyce rematch. Because Joe Joyce gave Daniel Dubois his first loss. It was a devastating loss. It was during the COVID period, and Daniel Dubois in the end was exposed The first Joe Joyce fight showed us that Daniel Dubois has two things. Number one, that Daniel Dubois does not fight under pressure, that Daniel Dubois has got mental frailties, and he also showed us during that time that Daniel Dubois was not ready for world level because Joe Joyce had the experience, and that was very clear on the night. Look, Dubois had success in the first few rounds in that fight. He was landing that big right hand, and Joyce seemed as though he had to adjust in that fight to take control, and he did. Joyce started establishing his jab, he started being patient, he started taking control of the fight, and at some point Joyce was in the ascendancy, and it looked like Daniel Dubois was then declining as the fight kept going on. And of course, in hindsight, we can see that Daniel Dubois' mentality was not right because he does not fight well when things are not going his way. And that's exactly what that first Joe Joyce fight showed us. And of course, Joyce then went on to stop Dubois with a jab, and it was an emphatic win for Joe Joyce. But right now, the tables has turned. Right now, Joe Joyce is on a decline, and Daniel Dubois, although he's lost to Oleksandr Usyk, the best of this generation, I think Dubois has more to give in the heavyweight division than Joe Joyce. I think Joe Joyce is probably done. He's got one or two more fights left, and I think he should call it quits. But Daniel Dubois, on the other hand, I believe still has a lot more fights in him. He's still young, and I think Daniel Dubois will fancy his chances against Joe Joyce because I believe the momentum, although he's lost, is on Daniel Dubois' side, and I think that he'll be able to beat Joe Joyce this time around. So that will be a very good fight for Daniel Dubois for a number of reasons, but mainly for his confidence building, because Daniel Dubois needs to avenge his losses, right? The whole thing about boxing and heavyweight boxing and fighters losing is coming back and avenging your losses, and Daniel Dubois has not avenged any of his losses yet. So if Dubois can get in there and really stop a Joe Joyce, that would be a very positive notion to him that he's still got it and that he can really get back in the ring and have revenge over his nemesis, which is Joe Joyce. And I think if Daniel Dubois is able to do that and stop Joe Joyce and really show that he's bounced back from that Oleksandr Usyk loss, I think that will stand Daniel Dubois in good stead going forward in his career. So look, I think either Anthony Joshua or Joe Joyce would be a great fight for Daniel Dubois' comeback. I think it's confidence building. I think it puts Dubois back onto the high table of the heavyweight division, and I think for himself it reassures him that he's still up there and that he can compete with the top guys. Let me know what you think about these two fights, Daniel Dubois versus either Anthony Joshua or Joe Joyce, which I think is the right fight for him to take going forward in his career right now. If you think there are any other fights that Daniel Dubois should take, then please let me know in the comment section below and let me know why you think he should take that fight. My name is Bright. This is the Bright Show Podcast Boxing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.